Vint is the first fully transparent wine investment platform, genuinely accessible to everyone. For less than $100, you can own SEC-qualified shares of the best wines in the world. The Vint Wine Investment Podcast offers up-to-date information on the world of wine and investing, as well as current perspectives on our collections and the wine markets in general. Enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Vint Wine Investment Podcast. As always, my name is Billy Galenko, and I'm the head of wine here at Vint, and I'm here to bring you the latest updates from the wine side of the company. We have a little bit of interesting, exciting wine news coming out, and then we're going to dive into our upcoming collection, the Rhone Valley Collection, which is very exciting. We have a couple additional announcements around the education partners we're going to be working with for this collection, and the Zoom that everybody will have, our educational Zoom that will give you some insight into the Rhone Valley and one of the key producers in the collection. Let's kick off today though with some industry news. There's a few things that are going on. You know, the wine industry always has a lot of tidbits, so I picked out the three most interesting for me to you guys today. The first is the wine industry, fine wine overall continues to perform very well, the overall market. So the main tidbit is the Liv-Ex December report came out, and in that report they kind of give you general performance numbers of the main indices that they track on the platform. And the Fine Wine 1000 was up 2.4% month over month, October to November. That's one of the better months it's had recently, and it's exciting. It's just showing this continued momentum across the whole category. The second interesting tidbit is the Wine Advocate. Robert Parker's Wine Advocate, everybody looks to them as kind of a benchmark in terms of scoring. But many people don't know is Robert Parker has stopped reviewing wines himself many years ago. He slowly phased out, and then he eventually stopped altogether more than I want to say more than 5 years ago. We can double check me on that one. But in the meantime, Lisa Peretti-Brown has been basically the person giving the biggest scores for the biggest regions. And by biggest scores, I mean the most important scores for the most important regions. But she has recently stepped down from the Wine Advocate. So when you've been seeing some of these Bordeaux scores and some of these other scores for the past recent vintages, some of the features that we've referenced, I think some of the recent vintages basically of Bordeaux that you've been seeing from Wine Advocate, they've been from Lisa Peretti-Brown. And now that she's leaving Wine Advocate, we have a new editor-in-chief there, which is Joe Czerwinski. And then the deputy editor will be William Kelly. William Kelly will be overseeing the Bordeaux reviews. Czerwinski will be working with Napa and some of the other regions that he's been kind of heading up previously. Why this matters? I mean, there are two reasons. Reviewers, they are as objective as possible, but sometimes personal preference leads in. Everybody always said Robert Parker had a preference for big, bold reds, which is why those became popular, and he gave all the 100-point scores. So there might always be a little shift in how these people review. Of course, they say, they're going to be objective as possible, but it's just an interesting thing to note, and we'll keep track of it as we move forward. The last piece of news that I want to touch on is Liv-Ex recently came out with an article highlighting Figeac. You guys may remember Figeac from our Saint-Emilion collection back in July. The article is basically focusing on Figeac's great performance in 2021. It's been a banner year for them. Many of their vintages have had strong performance across the category. They were up as a whole brand in double digits this year. And recently, the Liv-Ex Power 100 brands list came out, which this basically takes into volume of sales, value of total sales, a number of different scoring components to kind of rank brand power of wines throughout the world. And Figeac was actually the number 3 ranked wine in this review, only behind Lafite and Mouton Rothschild. So that's pretty good company if you're the number 3 kind of strongest brand in Bordeaux behind just those two guys. Another interesting piece of information from that article was that the 2015 vintage of Figeac, which is featured in our collection, is now up 56% since release, and it's been reaching some all-time high prices during 2021, and that's just exciting news. We take time to source these collections for you guys, and we're always happy to report on updates as we're going on, and we'll continue to try to give you guys, investors in past collections, updates on performance of the wines in each of those collections and how they're doing today as they come up in the news and market reports in general. So moving on here, let's move from past collections to future collections. We are excited. We've announced the Rhone collection last week. This is a region that's always been kind of near and dear to my heart. I've always thought it's just really fascinating, the wild Syrah that comes from this area. So let's go over the wines that are going to be featured in this collection. What we're going to be focusing on for this collection will be red wines of the Rhone, coming from the north and south part of the Rhone Valley. The northern part of the valley, as many people may know, focuses mainly on Syrah. So the wines that we have coming out of there are from Gigal. They're technically called the Lalas as a group. That's kind of the pet name a lot of the people in the industry have given them, because each of the vineyards, they're single vineyard wines from Gigal that all start with the La. So these are all single vineyard wines from Gigal's holdings. So we'll start with Gigal's La Turque. We have 2010 and 2015 vintages. We have Gigal's La Landon. We have the 2010 and 2016 vintages. And we have Gigal's La Moline 2010 and 2015 vintages. All of these vineyards are in Côte Rôtie. They come from different parts of Côte Rôtie. Côte Rôtie is kind of broken into the Côte Blanc and the Côte Brune, which we'll get into a little more in our education sessions. But these wines were the first single vineyard wines from the region, and it's really exciting to be able to offer them to you guys. They're highly sought after by many collectors, especially the 2010 vintage, which each of the wines, all three vineyards basically produced 100-point wines in that year. So we're really excited to be able to offer you guys all of those in one kind of cohesive package here. Keeping in the Northern Rhone, the next wines we have in the collection are Jabolet. We have a La Chapelle from Hermitage, Hermitage is probably the most famous, region in the Northern Rhone sub-appellation. It's this giant hill that faces south. It's at a turn of the Rhone Valley, or on the Rhone River, sorry. The river actually runs north-south, but for whatever reason, at one point, it basically takes a hard left turn and goes east for just a little ways. And along this bend in the river, the hill of Hermitage sits, and it faces due south, which is important in this area just because it's a little further north. It's cooler, so it needs all that extra sunlight that it can get. So this is a really special area, special hill, and some of the best wines in the world are produced on this hill. And again, the red wine, or the red grape that's used to make these wines, is Syrah. So we have Jabolet's Hermitage La Chapelle 2015, and then we also have Chapoutier's Hermitage La Hermite 2019. Both of these wines are crafted beautifully. They've gotten great reviews, and it's just really, no Rhone collection would be really complete without some Hermitage. And then the next two wines we have move us down to the Southern Rhone. Down here, we move away from the land of Syrah being the king grape and move into Châteauneuf-du-Pape, which is the most famous area down in the Southern Rhone area. It's named Châteauneuf-du-Pape, which means New House of the Pope. This is named as such because there was a schism in the Roman Catholic Church, and at a time there were popes or bishops basically claiming to be pope both in Avignon, which is in the south of France, right near where Châteauneuf-du-Pape is now, and in Rome. So that name kind of stuck, and throughout time, it's just been called Châteauneuf-du-Pape. It's a really interesting area. It's a warmer area. It's known for its galets stones, which are basically these big round stones, also called pudding stones, that basically make it almost look like a moon or Martian scape at some points in this wine growing region. So it's very exciting. It's very hot. very different than the northern Rhone, and that even is reflected by the grapes that are grown there as well. Chateauneuf-du-Pape allows 13 different varietals to be included in their blend, as opposed to Côte-Rôtie, where it's really Syrah is the prominent red grape, and they're allowed to co-ferment with a little bit of Viognier. So as you can imagine, the wines are very different, but they're both, amazing and very complex and deeply high quality. So the two wines that we have in our collection from Chateauneuf-du-Pape are Chateau de Beaucastel, Hommage de Jacques Perrin. It's a really exciting wine. Chateau de Beaucastel is from the northern part of Chateauneuf-du-Pape, so it's a little cooler than some of the other areas in Chateauneuf. That said, it's still relatively warm compared to, say, the northern Rhone. And the second wine we feature in this collection from Chateauneuf-du-Pape is Pagao da Capo. Both of these wines are spectacular expressions. The Pagao comes from 2016. The Beaucastel comes from 2017. Both were very strong vintages, and again, we're highly excited to be able to kind of source these wines and add them to really round out our collection. So this collection really runs you from north to south, all the way up in Côte-Rôtie, through Hermitage, and down to Chateauneuf-du-Pape. But that alone, just telling you these things, I know it's very high level. So what we always like to do is have our deeper education sessions. And I'm excited to announce that for this education session, we've connected with Vintis, who is the exclusive importer of Guigal in the United States. And we will be working with Patrick Will, who is basically the in-house Rhone expert at Vintis. He actually created a company that was the exclusive importer of Guigal, starting in 2008. And then that company was acquired by Vintis. So basically, Patrick Will is probably one of the Americans that are closest to the Guigal family. He's been inducted into the Brotherhood of Chateauneuf-du-Pape, which is kind of an honorary society around people doing great things in wine in the region. He was a Person of the Year at the Hospice du Rhone in 2011. And the Hospice du Rhone is basically a time when people from all over the world who enjoy or work with Rhone varietals get together in Paso Robles, which is in California, surprisingly enough. But it was founded by a group of guys who call themselves the Rhone Rangers, who are basically trying to raise awareness of the high quality of Rhone varietal grapes like Syrah and Grenache, and basically raise awareness. So this is one of the foremost experts in Rhone wines kind of in the United States, and he's certainly one of the foremost experts in Guigal's wines after working so closely with the family for so many years. So as we do with every collection, we'll be having an educational Zoom where I will interview him. Patrick will be sharing a lot of background on the family, some history, some inside information on their winemaking approaches, the vineyard management, and really giving you a behind-the-scenes look of what goes into making Guigal special and what goes into making the Lalas special in general. So we're really excited to have him. We're finalizing the details of that date and time, and we will email it out to our mailing list as soon as possible. And we'll be looking to potentially partner with them even further. And we might have other surprises coming down the line due to our partnership with Vintis. So we're excited to have this Rhone collection go live on Wednesday, December 15th. And I hope you guys are as excited as we are. And that is where I will leave you for this week. Have a great week, and we look forward to everybody investing in the collection. And I'll talk to you guys next week. Cheers.
Hey everybody, the topic that I'm going to touch on today is an interesting new market segment that we are looking at. So when you think about our customer segments right now, I like to break them down into two. There's two ends of the spectrum with a lot of investors in the middle. On the top end, we have the research-driven, detail-oriented, passionate, high net worth individual who's been investing with us. There's generally a connection to wine there. And then on the other side of the spectrum, we have the millennial micro investor. This person really likes the accessibility, the educational aspect of Vint, and the low barriers to entry. One of our goals has been to make this asset class available to everybody. And there's a third segment that we're starting to explore, and it is the institutional channels. So I don't think the plan is to go into Morgan Stanley and pitch them that their financial advisors should be pushing Vint. I think that process is slow, but there is the independent RIA market. And I guess a third segment, as I misspoke, there would be the IRA, working with Alto IRA. You could say that's a third customer segment that's been really, really strong for us. So the RIA market is really interesting, especially on the independent side. I interned at one in college. It was about a 5-person firm. They managed about $250 million. You have a lot of these independent firms who say work with a Schwab as their custodian, but do have discretion over the assets that they manage. So my plan is to use the Richmond network to our advantage and start having conversations here. Generally, capital in Richmond is risk off, but maybe we can. I feel that I can get a lot of meetings in Richmond and start to learn, do more and more customer discovery. We have been going through diligence with another firm, but I think the first step here is doing discovery with 10 to 20 RIAs, and then seeing where we can go from there. So if any of you all have connections, I think one way that this could work is if you've been a Vint investor on the platform and have a financial advisor that you work with, talk with them, get some of their thoughts, and maybe if there's any interest, you could connect us with them just to have a conversation. Other than that, thank you all for the support, and we'll be back next week.
For questions, comments, or feedback on the Vint Wine Investment Podcast, please email us at support@vint.co. To check out our current offerings and to sign up for the Vint platform, find us at www.vint.co. That's www.vint.co. Vint and VV Markets are offering securities pursuant to Regulation A. Our offering circular as amended can be found on the SEC website. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. Investments such as those on the Vint platform are speculative and involve substantial risk to consider before investing. We may provide communication that may contain certain forward-looking statements that are subject to various risks and uncertainties. Information provided in any communications is not legal, business, or tax advice. All prospective investors should consult a legal, tax, or business advisor concerning the subject matter of any communications and any offering.